So, dude, thanks for doing the show. Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me.
Yeah,
Excited.
Let's have some fun here, because I'm really interested to get a little bit of your backstory and understand like how you entered into this. I'm gonna use a real hip word. How you entered into this space.
Oh, okay. Start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're a Pittsburgher, right?
Yes.
Born and raised.
Born and raised, Cranberry.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I live around that area.
I get it. Yeah, that's cool.
Specifics.
How did you end up falling in love with design?
My parents built their home when I was probably 10 or so. So I was kind of involved with them doing that. It was all custom home, so they went to tile shops, the architect, everything.
You found that fascinating?
I did. And then we were in a new development, and the houses all around us were getting built. So I'd just sit in front of the window and draw them.
I know shit.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough to go to a high school that had a lot of classes in high school with design and architecture. So it kind of just kept my creative mind going, and I went to college for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like what's the when you say design, what kind of curriculum is that? What's the name of the major?
So I went for interior design.
Okay.
I wanted to go for architecture and realized I job shadowed
You
a
didn't
couple.
like math?
Well, I don't. I only had to take one math class in interior design school, which blows my mind that we only had one. But I interviewed one kid, like shadowed him it was a Saturday. The whole lab, the architectural lab, was filled with students. It was like Saturday at 4 o'clock. I'm like, I don't want this for my Saturday college career.
Right on.
I wanted some type of social life in college. So
That's what they all say.
And actually, I went to school undecided my first semester. Took one class and decided like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I went for interior design at IUP.
Okay.
Yeah.
When people hear interior design,
Oh man.
yeah, I mean it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yes.
So from an industry standpoint, what is the most accurate description of what interior design means?
Yes, I used to explain it a completely different way, but since I heard this guy that came on to my podcast explain it, it's basically if you took a house, flipped it upside down and shook it, everything left is what the interior designer does. So cabinets, the layout of the interior of the home, the building codes of it. I think in our media nowadays, everybody thinks interior design is, decor and styling, just because that's what you see on TV.
Exactly.
But no, it's like an interior architect kind of. Interior design and architecture overlap a lot.
Got it.
Architecture is a lot more involved. They have a lot more building codes. Obviously, they're doing the exterior of the home.
Right.
But interior design is basically all the structural stuff inside.
So that's more than I even assumed.
Okay.
And I'm in the damn industry. So you're saying the way walls are configured is part of interior design?
Yeah, it is. Architecture does that to an extent, or in some countries they call it architectural designer, which is an interior designer. So it's kind of an overlapping name for it. But yeah, usually an architect has an interior designer working with them to do the interior layout of a home.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't know where structural walls need to be, so we can't design where the structural walls will be. They tell us, we do the layout based off of that.
Yeah, so the place doesn't fall down. Here from a minimum, this is what we have to minimally have to keep the structure in place.
Correct.
Now you all work around that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot more involved. Like I know in Pennsylvania, in every state it's different. So you can't just call yourself an interior designer in every state. You have to take some testing. You have to go to school for interior design.
Yeah.
And there's another test that I've never took because it just didn't involve. I never really made it into the commercial aspect of it, but it's called NCIDQ, which is just another testing after school. It's a bunch of building codes, a bunch of like LEED certified, all that stuff.
Okay.
I never done it, but a lot of designers think you have to have that to be an interior designer, but no, just reference basically.
I think there's some conflation in my industry, the real estate industry, when you see and hear people advertise for home stagers. Sometimes home stagers expand their prestige or their role to include interior design. They call themselves interior designers. In reality, they're just a company that stages props to sell a property.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you see that every day. It's a sore subject in my industry.
Sorry.
No. It's a great thing to talk about, just because, a lot of people just think I love Interior Design Magazine or HGTV, that I could get into interior design, or, but that's not really the case. I mean, it's a completely different. If you are good at styling, that you don't have to go to school for that. They don't teach you styling in school.
Okay.
You learn about like building codes. You learn about the psychological effects of color. Mm-hmm. We're not picking color, but we're learning the psychological effects of color.
Learn about feng shui.
Feng shui, the red, the facing of the home, everything. Yeah. There's a lot more to it than people think of, but that's kind of like any profession. Like,
right.
You don't really know everything a nurse does, or a radio DJ, whatever.
Sure. Yeah. And there's a lot of confusion generally in the marketplace or the public in general with job titles. I mean, especially in 2023, things are so like mishmashed and overstated, understated. To me, if you're designing a bathroom and you're determining how a tub is going to be laid out, the measurements of the tub, the kind of materials that are going to be used and so forth, that's way beyond like a home stager. To me, a home stager is someone that's going into an existing standing space that has already had an interior designer constructing the configuration. Yeah. And they're putting props in. Yeah. That's what, to me, I'm not saying there isn't skill required for that, but it's different.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a skill, because I'm not good at it. I'm not. A lot of people think my house looks really nice, but I try, but I'm not good at it. I can't do that for a client. Like, if they ask me what couch looks good in this room, I'm like, I don't know.
Got it.
I'm not good at that. That's not what I do. Or a paint color. I can't pick out a paint color.
Well, we're men. How are we going to pick out
That's the hardest thing. Like, I'm doing a project in my house right now, and you just second guess everything.
For sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of the way a bathroom is laid out, the configuration or open concept and what that means, what that doesn't mean, and so forth.
There's a lot more building codes to the profession that stagers wouldn't know about. I mean, obviously they could get a contractor, which a lot of them do work that way. If they're a stager that goes into interior design, they usually lean on their contractor a little bit more.
Okay.
When an interior designer does it, we have a lot more paperwork, just because that's what we went to school for. We know what the contractor needs to make the job go smoothly.
Got it.
We know ADA, so you need to know all that stuff to design a bathroom or a kitchen, especially a bathroom. Bathroom is like one of the hardest things to do. It's so small, but it's one of the hardest in the homes.
So if a builder came to you or a client came to you and says, hey, we're building this house, basically the contractor would construct the house and show you where the minimum wall configurations must be based upon the structural integrity of the property. Yeah. But from there, the floor plans and so forth, you would work within that and create unique floor plans for the client. Is that right?
Correct.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. If you're a new build designer, I haven't done much in new build. I usually do remodeling. It's more of a puzzle.
Isn't that much more complex, though?
Yeah, that's why I like it. Yeah, it's a lot more puzzle. Knowing what's behind that wall is the interesting part. Starting from a blank slate is so hard sometimes. You don't know what to do when you just.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you just go into an open house. It's just sometimes confusing on what to do.
Yeah, unless you're dialed into your particular client, you have to know them pretty well.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And the client that's already living in the space that wants to remodel the space knows what they want more than someone that's building from scratch. Okay. If that makes sense. Just because they're living in the space.
I think so.
And they know what they don't like about the space.
Right.
And what they want.
Right.
But when it's a blank slate, you're kind of just wish list type of items.
For sure.
What you'd want.
For sure.
but you're not thinking about the whole functionality of the space.
No, because it's all visual at that time. There's no practical. There's no. They have not experienced any kind of practicality advantages or disadvantages because it's all starting new.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Exactly.
How much of that goes into what you do? I mean, practicality, obviously, besides the bathrooms, the ADA compliance and so forth, but what in general does feng shui mean? Because that's bounced around so much. In theory, I'm not even asking for a specific.
Okay, I was going to say that's a long time ago when I learned that.
Is this still a thing or not?
It is, but it's certain cultures.
It was big in North America for a couple of years, right? Or was it just a fad?
I think it was more of a fad thing. And, well, a lot of people that I don't know if they practice different cultures or they just hippies, I guess. Yeah. They want that certain spirit in their home or whatever.
So a little esoteric metaphysical stuff going on there.
Yeah, kind of like that. But for the most part, it started out for a culture.
Okay.
It's completely a culture-based thing.
Okay.
Like their staircase has to be a certain way. Red is the color. It needs to be facing a certain direction. It's very scientific.
Have you ever had a client that openly told you they wanted to incorporate feng shui in their designs?
No. Okay. No, but in school we had to design a hotel based off of it.
Okay.
So we had to go to, I don't remember what the country was, but we had, the professors gave us a whole list of wants.
Okay.
And it was in a country with that culture, and we had to design around that. It's not as hard as you think. Every client comes with a list of wants.
Of course.
And that's just another way to think about it. The feng shui is just another list of wants.
Got it.
So it's really, it's not like it's like a huge curveball.
So you're working with older houses and you start ripping out walls.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun, ain't it?
It is. I actually ripped out a wall. I didn't personally do it because I didn't have time, but I had a contractor rip out a wall in my house this morning.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm doing a big project for my page. Well, for myself, but it's going to be on my page later in the summer. But I wrecked down a wall. It wasn't in the plans. I was looking at my kitchen on Monday, and I'm like, can you take this wall out too? And he's like, yeah, I'll take it out.
And see, that is that idea of open concept. I think it's been out in the western part of this country for a long time, but it seems like it's made its way east the last couple of decades. All you hear is open concept, at least for the years I've been a realtor, like 10 plus years now. Is that HGTV speaking to people?
So.
Is it?
I think
what
so.
Does it even mean? Like when someone says to you open concept, what is your interpretation of that?
So everything, exactly what it says, like it's completely open. So from the kitchen to the family room mostly is completely open. The mom or the dad could be cooking and seeing the kids in the family room play. But, back in the day, houses were built room to room. So it was just doorways. Kitchens were not a statement piece. They were a room where no one went into. It was literally just prepping. They made the food. So, I think it's more of a trend that HGTV or magazines or media has made, and people just want it. I think a lot of times when people get a house with it and live in it for a little while, they don't actually like it. Especially when it's a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, because I grew up in a house in it. We had 3 boys in the family, and it's loud. It's very, very loud.
Yeah, that's been my experience with them. Yeah,
Yes.
a little less privacy, and you always miss what you don't have, right? When you don't have open space concept, you yearn for it, then you get it, and you're like, wow. We're all like in each other's face. Although the space is bigger, it's all kind of one now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just really a trend that's the reason why people make trends. They want to make a trend, so you go out and want to remodel your home, or, the gray was gray flooring, gray everything.
Oh, yeah. We're dealing with that now. That's still a thing.
Exactly.
Am I right? I'm asking you.
It's somewhat dying.
All the rental properties are still like, I understand there's a standardization that they're trying to do because it's clean and looks impressive, but man, that gray, there's so much gray. And wood's not gray, real wood, right?
No.
So it's
No.
not really a reflection of reality.
Yeah, I mean, aged barn wood could be gray,
Okay.
but not that smooth. You know, you're not going to put aged barn wood on a floor because there's no way it's not going to suck up a coffee or whatever you spill on the floor.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, gray to me is just very sterile. You know, I've done multiple designs in it. I don't really put my input on it when I'm doing it for a designer or for a client, just because, you know, that's what they want.
Sure.
But yeah, trends are just made so you could keep remodeling your home. And I'm saying that for
The
people
truth.
hiring me. Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, again, way back, and learning a little bit about design from just family and so forth. It seemed like there was two ways to go. You could start at white, and then you either lean gray or you lean tan, and then depending on those two decisions, everything else would come from that.
Yeah.
Is that still like a thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like the basis. Like you go to one of those colors as like the primary or the secondary color, and then you just add some pops of color or another variation of. That's
Okay.
what the gray kind of came from. Just like if you go into LA, those houses are like all white or all tan, like the moniker. I don't know if you've ever seen Kim Kardashian's house. It was trending
On television.
Yes.
I didn't get the invite yet.
Oh, okay. I have. No, I'm just kidding. But it's all tan. And that's kind of coming our way, like monochromatic design, where it's
Okay.
all one color. But back to your point, like if you start, that's a good rule of thumb, like start with a white or a tan and then branch off of that into your home. But again, I'm not the best with color, so
Yeah,
after
it's
that.
it's crazy because I think people lump furniture choices and colors and decor in with what you do. You know, like and I would imagine you being in that field, that has to be frustrating at times to try to get some delineation between the two roles or three roles, actually.
Oh, 100%. I mean, even friends and family still think that, and they know what I do. But yeah, I mean, it overlaps a little bit. I mean, I've never had to get furniture for a client. I've never picked out furniture for a client.
Wow, that's fast. I personally would never have guessed that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing to a piece of furniture I did was like maybe a chandelier.
Okay.
But to me, that's more of an architectural element of a home.
It's a fixture
Yeah.
property for sure.
Yeah. And then we do color somewhat, because if I'm doing a kitchen, I'm going to have to pick out the color of the cabinets.
Got it.
But it's
it.
really just showing clients what they can get and helping them and leading them in the right direction so it doesn't look bad.
What would be the name of a person who would help somebody put furniture in? I don't mean stage it. It's like you're really going to live there. Like if the interior designer designed the layout and the walls and the kitchen and the bathroom, what would be the name of the title of the person they would hire to help them pick out furniture and accoutrements? Is there a position for that outside of furniture salesman?
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're if you're going to a furniture store, it'd be a furniture designer, but they're space planners. Space planners, yeah.
Okay.
So they're literally
That's a whole thing then.
yeah.
Space planner. Here's that word space again. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's interior decorator, that's what people think of. That's basically styling for someone to live in. Because people are like staging for a home. It's kind of like that, but you're not staging to sell the home. You're staging for someone to live in.
So if you had the means, you could hire an architect to design your house, hire a builder, then hire an interior designer. Then you can hire what was that last term? Not stage or
Interior decorator?
Interior decorator. And then when you go to purchase, you can find what they call a space
planner. Well, the interior decorator will do the space planning stuff.
Okay.
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of interior designers will do it all.
Okay.
You know, they love it all. I mean, I probably would if I had the correct job. It's just I've never been asked really to help them out with furniture or anything.
Yeah, I could. So yeah, you could do the whole full service thing. It's so funny when it comes to, what you do has an element of subjectiveness to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, if you're picking out furniture and things, that's very subjective.
Yeah.
And colors.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I just think that stuff, to me, it's boring. So that's not why I went into interior design.
Right.
So I don't really want to add it onto my plate to do.
Right.
I'd rather have someone else that maybe is probably better at it than me.
Got it.
I like more of the structural stuff, the architectural elements of it, like kitchen remodel, bathroom remodel, that type of stuff.
What's the most challenging interior design job you were contracted to do? Like structurally.
Structurally.
Right. What closet did you have to put a bathroom in? Because invariably that's the thing, man.
Ooh, I don't know structurally, but I know I've designed for a hotel chain that had like cabins in the woods outside of their hotel.
Okay.
And that was hard, mainly because you're reserving like what they already had in there. So you weren't allowed to like, they want it fully gutted or like remodeled, but they didn't want it fully gutted. They wanted to keep that element to it.
The rustic look to it.
Yeah, and then it wasn't just one client, it was a board of directors.
Oh, great.
And then the private, the person who was funding it was a private person. So they didn't come to the meeting, so they also had a say in it.
Naturally.
So yeah, that was probably the hardest project I've ever done.
Okay. Is that primarily because of the actual job or the fact that you probably didn't have a lot of involvement from the powers that be?
Kind of both.
Okay.
Because what I would want to do, and I knew was the best for the renters of this place, was to remove certain walls and stuff, but I couldn't just because of wanting, again, moving to the group of, or the board of directors wanting to keep a lot of the elements, and they had a lot of like naughty pine wood walls that have been there from the early 1900s, so they wanted to keep them intact. So it's kind of both made it hard.
Yeah, I can't imagine. You said that the hotel chain also owned the cabins. Is that what it was?
Yes, and maybe not a hotel chain, a hotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the cabins were around the hotel?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I can tell you off camera.
It's okay. No, and I understood. And the guests would stay in the cabins? It's an option?
Yeah, rent out the cabins.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See, I learned something. Did you ever wish you did something else?
It's a loaded question.
I know it is what we do here.
I mean, now doing podcasting and stuff, doing communications and social media, I would love, but I'm still kind of doing that now. It's just kind of more on the side.
Let's talk about how did you get into media in general, social media, and then deciding that you wanted to express yourself in a way to host the Pro Series or design what became the Pro Series and implement it.
Yeah. Social media has always kind of been me growing up. I graduated high school in 2013, so Instagram was just becoming a thing in maybe my junior year. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of in the front of most of those social medias and learning that throughout college. I ran some social medias in college, and then I did some media-based stuff. I did graphic design stuff like designing fraternity shirts and marketing elements and stuff.
Sure.
And then once I became a designer, I made my social media account as a portfolio. Just that it wasn't even my work because I wasn't experienced enough to have jobs yet. I was still training.
Okay.
So I was showing off inspirational pictures and then, giving credit to the designer that I'm reposting.
Got it.
And just started getting following through that. And then I started making my own content because I had design work. Mm-hmm. And then...
So you were starting to understand the code of Instagram then?
Yes. And then I collaborated with certain brands and stuff, and that's kind of how I started building my following. And then fall of 2019, I kind of made the Pro Series concept. which was strictly going to be a Pittsburgh-based educational experience for what I would want a designer or a design client to know, like what to renovate into their home. It was a lot of, like, my first one was a Pittsburgh-based real estate agent, and I wasn't even on the it wasn't even a podcast. It was literally a 30-second video on my Instagram, and he just gave advice on what to renovate in your house to get the best bang for your buck. So the first, like, maybe 8 episodes were that way, and I had an architect in Florida, which I just had on my podcast like last week. Right. And they just give different viewpoints on what to do. And then summer of 2020, we all were, stuck in home.
You don't say.
Yeah, and
I somewhat remember something about that. I'm not. Something was going on.
Yeah, and being stuck at home, I'm like, I need to create some type of content. And I was talking with Ward Schrader, who has a show on HGTV with his daughter, Tamara Day. And I also had her on, and I'm like, I messaged him, I'm like, would you just want to jump on a Zoom meeting with me? And he's like, sure, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I don't know, but let's just record it. And that was the first actual interview-based series. And it was just, that's when IGTV was a big thing. Now it's not a thing.
Yeah, what happened there?
I don't know.
Where'd it go? Did they replace it with something?
No, because when TikTok came out, they made short form video instead of long videos.
Right.
And then fall of 21, I'm like, why not make this into a podcast? It's already, like, the foundation's already there. Let's just create it. And I just made an episode every week since.
So I'm always fascinated to talk to podcasters because everybody's experience, how they got there, is kind of different, but there's always some threads of similarity. So when you decide to make a quote unquote podcast, for whatever that definition means now, you said it was like the 8th or 9th show.
Yeah.
The 8th or 9th attempt of putting video out there. So, want to jog your memory, what were some of the immediate takeaways things that you said to yourself after doing the first couple quote unquote podcasts? Do you remember?
I don't. I just remember being so thankful I got it done, and not looking back at it.
Through.
Yeah, I don't watch myself back. I don't listen to myself back. So.
Really?
No, I make a reel of my episode every week, so I'll listen to that, but I don't.
Interesting.
And I think we talked about this off camera, but I didn't really post pictures of myself on social media on my design account, and then 2020 came around, and I'm like, if I want to get bigger, I need to show my face.
Right.
And now I don't even care.
It's a growth thing, right? I mean, it's like you get some muscle there after doing it a while.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like did you say you maybe struggle with the branding in the beginning? Like associating your face with the brand?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you realized at some point, I'm guessing, that it was probably wise to do that?
Yes. Well, my brand is my name. Right. It's Eric Dillman Designs.
Yes.
So
that's where I was going with there.
Exactly. So it made no sense. So I needed to give my face, give personality to my brand.
Your face.
Yeah. So
and you're comfortable with it now?
Yeah. Absolutely.
See how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's to me, that's a success story. That little nugget of what you did there is a success.
Yeah.
Because that's not everybody can do that. They can.
Yeah.
Not everybody will.
Yeah. I'm confident everybody can and learn to get comfortable with it the more you do it. I'm not saying I'm 100% confident in front of it.
None of us are.
Yeah. But I'm a lot more than I was, 3 years ago now.
Of course. Have you done shows where you have produced it and said, wow, that was really good? I mean, are you able to pat yourself on the back once in a while?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, yeah.
You should.
Yeah. Just like landing some guests. It blows my mind that I talk to them and they actually say yes. That's like, Like
You
people
gotta
actually listen.
ask.
Yeah, exactly.
You have those moments.
Yeah, and that's another thing. People were afraid to. What are they going to say? No,
Right.
I don't care.
And if they do, what difference does it make? You know?
Yeah, and it's not in person either. It stings more when it's in person.
Yeah, there's the foundation of a good salesman there, pal.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's sometimes I leave the episode and I'm like, I should ask this question or ask this question, but it just makes me better for the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. And then there's times where you, at least for me, was times you do a show and you're like, I asked some great questions, but how the hell did I forget these three? Mm-hmm. It's like, you're kind of disappointed in yourself, but eventually you just, there's never going to be a perfect episode.
Mm-mm. No.
Once I figured that out, things got better for me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's guests that like I could have talked. I keep my podcast to 25 to 30 minutes, which is sometimes hard.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
You have a really interesting person.
For sure.
I just did one a couple weeks ago. Her name was Brittany Turner. She's a millionaire. She bought her own island at 28. She did
her own island?
Her own island. She did the episode on the deck of her house or something, overlooking the ocean. And her story was so motivational, and I ended that call and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I was able to talk to her.
That's fantastic.
Hear this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as people are out there, that's the thing about podcasting for me. And again, you've got a specific kind of, with the current project, we'll talk about your second project in a second, but with the Pro Series, you've got a field you're exploring with. So you've got some kind of like direction. Here it's kind of like anything goes, but the point is you encounter so many amazing humans. Like I tend to be pretty optimistic about the human condition when I do one. If it makes any sense.
Yeah.
A little esoteric, but I feel like, wow, humans do some amazing shit. We just don't take time to really either cheer people on or kind of like present their stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially we do with celebrities, but we don't do it with the people that are not in the public eye, which there's so many more of them out there. And that's what I want to gravitate towards for the Pro Series, interviewing those type of people that are changing the world, but not in the limelight.
The ones that really should be getting the limelight.
Correct.
We keep making, famous, or we keep making stupid people famous.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it's kind of like commentary on what we're doing.
Exactly.
It is media. Yeah, we're going to go there in a little bit here. I just definitely do not want to ask for a name, but talk a little bit about any rough podcast you have.
Oh, yeah. It's
not
like
looking for you to out anybody.
Okay.
Just talking about the process.
Yeah. Those are the toughest. You learn the most during them. And I mean that by sometimes you need to make sure you're a good listener. Like we talked off camera, like as a host and interviewer, you need to be able to listen. And sometimes when someone's very dry or they take the podcast in a direction where you did not see going, or that we didn't talk off camera, and I know nothing about that, and I didn't prep myself, and I'm like, what do I do? You kind of black out. So you kind of learn that and trying to stay alert and trying to figure out some type of question or a really good way to go somewhere else in the conversation. And I think someone that's really good at that is Ryan Seacrest.
I would agree.
Good on the spot.
He's good on his feet.
Yes. And that's someone I would like to learn from, to take those situations where it's a hard interview and gravitate towards somewhere it's comfortable.
Yeah, that's mastery there when you can do that.
It blows my mind just seeing what he does.
Who else do you think from an interviewing standpoint do you admire? Whether it's in podcasting or out of podcasting?
So Ryan Seacrest's probably number one. Oprah, back in the early 2000s, late 2000s, was really good. She doesn't do a lot now, but she was good at asking the correct questions. Joe Rogan, obviously, he's
no question.
Yeah. But I also do like a lot of the Barstool people because there's no filter there. And
I love it.
Yeah, sometimes that's the cool part about it.
For sure. And Rogan's is pretty non-filtered too, I would think.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe a tad now. There's all these sponsors, but we can't really prove it. But it seems like it's a little more sterile now.
Exactly.
Than it was originally.
Yeah. But a lot of the podcasts I listen to aren't polished interviewers. Mm-hmm. They're more just people in the industry. So like country music is a lot of what I listen to for podcasts. I don't listen to a lot of design podcasts just because, I'm eat, sleep, breathe the same thing.
Yeah, you're already immersed in it, right?
Yeah, it's hard for me. I want to escape from something. And country music is just where I go. And a lot of them are people that are in the industry. So they're kind of not veterans in the interviewing, but they know what to ask, like industry-wise. So like the background of the music and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes me keep wanting to listen to them. Mm-hmm. Because they know what to ask. Because they've been in it.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What's your thoughts on Stern? Now, you're a little young for Stern, but are you familiar with any his style or his history at all?
No.
Yeah. Now, the argument can be made that he's on satellite, so he can do what Rogan does. And like, if you have someone for 2 hours, shame on you if you can't get it all out of them.
Yeah.
But his style, I think, is they're good interviewers.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, even though it's not my style, I think I still can learn from that.
Yeah, he kind of did podcasts before podcasts were even a thing.
Him and another couple, not a couple, but two DJs in LA that were comedians, OP and Anthony, I think, were like his competition back then. Mm-hmm. Although I don't know how threatening they were to Howard, but they were like in his sphere. But yeah, I think he did podcasting before. And there was another one too, Adam Curry, the old MTV VJ. I think he had like an early podcast. He was an early podcaster. It's evolved, but I don't even know what podcasting means. Is this a video show? Is this a video cast? Is this a video podcast? Is this a talk show? Is this a web show? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Is only the audible download portion called a podcast and the video thing is something else?
That's a good question. It could be classified as many different things.
Do you release your show in an audio format as well?
Yes.
Smart.
Yeah, and well, I only did it before it was a podcast. I only did it video formed on IGTV, and then when I went to podcast, that was really the only thing that changed. I put it on Apple and Spotify and all of those. But now that I switched, my viewership switched.
Interesting.
So like my audio, which I thought I was going to struggle with, got skyrocketed, but my video kind of went down.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think that might be because the whole format of the video isn't on Facebook and Instagram anymore.
Got it.
It's on YouTube, but I strictly don't know how to use YouTube. I just post and leave it.
These shows are on YouTube, and I use it as a depository. So all the full res versions are up there. We've always kind of been a Facebook show from the beginning. We got traction because of Facebook, and I always uploaded stuff too, the audio downloads, and only this past like 8 months has that kind of, I'll use the term exploded, because I just was amazed that anybody would want to download such a long conversation to listen to. And then when I started to watch the numbers just go like gangbusters, like there are people that have really bought into the format, and that's kind of rewarding.
Oh, 100%.
And I'm sure you felt that. I mean,
100%.
Yeah, and that's hard to articulate to someone that's not doing it.
Yeah,
what that means to you.
Yeah, and the numbers to me. So I stepped away from the industry for a little bit, and numbers to me meant really nothing.
Exactly.
Until I started meeting people that knew me that I didn't know.
Yep.
That's when it kind of started blowing my mind. Yeah.
Then when the audio download, like something happened, and social media marketing all the way better than me, but something happened in the course of me doing this show. Maybe it was one show that turned it or something. I don't know. Maybe I put a weird tag in there that just did something, but almost overnight, and then it started filtering back on all the prior shows. They started getting these audiences, and I was like, holy shit. But it almost happened by accident, I guess I should say.
Exactly. Well, exactly. You never know who you have on. Like I had you on, when was that? Like early last year?
Yeah, about a year and 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you were the biggest episode of last
I can't
year for me.
believe that. That's
But
crazy.
you have such a big following.
I guess I'm flattered, but I guess you don't see it when you're in it. You don't really see it. But that's
true.
flattering to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, so you never know. It could be a hashtag. It could be a follower of the other guest. But yeah, the number thing really blew my mind.
Yeah. So what does that tell you? What's your thoughts on why? Let me rephrase that. Why do you think podcasting, number one, is a thing, and why do you think that the average citizen is starting to really migrate toward them? What's the attraction? At least for you, and then on the broader, I'd like to get your thoughts on the broader, what your guess is, how it applies to the broader population.
Yeah. To me, why I'm an avid podcaster or a podcast listener is there's no agenda. There's no one. Well, I'm not speaking for all podcast shows because there are some that are bigger that have to. They're filtered. And
They capitulate.
yes. And I think that's why people are listening to podcasts now. They're so unfiltered and they're saying and they're talking, they're just usually normal people for the most part. They start out normal. And they talk about normal things, but they're not talking in a way that's trying to quote unquote brainwash you or make you think a certain way. And
I would agree.
And I think that's why they're going so well. Because podcasts have been around forever.
I know, 20 plus years, I think, because was it like 2000 the first one?
Sounds about right.
Something like that.
They didn't do well in the beginning.
No. I thought podcasting was a Apple invention that kind of went along with the iPod, where there was a conversation. It was downloaded on an MP3 or some Apple format. Is that I don't know.
That would sound right to me because Apple still has a separate app for it. They're really the only platform that has a separate app for it.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
And I just actually went down a rabbit hole the other day on how like artists get paid on streaming.
Sad.
Yes, and Apple is the forerunner on how much they pay. They pay a lot more than, which is like,
Not much.
fraction of a cent or something like that. But they have separate platforms, and that allows them to pay more.
Yep.
And I think I didn't think of that, and now that I know that, it's kind of genius. Mm-hmm. And Apple podcasting, that's what drives your success of your podcast. So if you're not on Apple and getting views and stuff,
100%. Yeah, that's it's and I just learned that my second year because the first year I didn't care, and like the YouTube numbers, I don't pay attention to that. I don't, because to monetize YouTube, they seem to gather steam with the more consistent content you put out. The channel tends to get steam on their own, without dumping money in there to push it. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to be that's the way it is.
YouTube is something I've never figured out.
Google. I mean, we need them, but no one understands the hell they do.
Yeah. I mean, I use YouTube a lot. I watch podcasts on there.
Yeah, I'm a premium member. I think I am.
Yeah. I mean, I use it a lot, but I don't understand. I mean, no one really understands algorithms of any social media because they're constantly changing.
They do it on purpose.
Yeah. I don't. Does YouTube even have one? I don't know how someone gets discovered.
So I get we're all succumbed to the machine. I mean, they dictate it all. Mm-hmm. I think podcasting exists because people don't have real conversations anymore in person.
Yes, that's true.
I think it's true.
I also think it's another thing. A lot of people, sometimes I get tired. I love music, but sometimes I get tired of listening to music, and I want to hear topics or
You're
people
feeding
talking.
your brain, brother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you learn stuff from podcasts.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I do it. But yeah.
I mean, social media is really, I think, what put a squash on our physical conversations. I think that once that got us scrolling, that now we're just being all the inputs. I don't think we sit down and talk to each other. We'd rather watch other people live their lives. Think about, so you and I, we're not famous. We're just two guys. A couple thousand people are going to ingest this show. both from the video and the download format. Give it a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Like, we're just two average guys having a conversation, and I'm willing to bet that some folks don't even have any interest in design or might look at this table and go, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. There's a compelling reason that they will want to buy into and explore what we're talking about. That's insane to me. I'm glad it's happening, but that, on the face of it, is kind of nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And if you go to the people that are the popular podcasters and stuff, this is something I kind of debate in my brain a lot, and I've posted about it as well, is we as a society and media, we follow all of these celebrities or famous podcasters or wherever, but we're not doing it to our friends and family that are trying to build something.
Oh, yeah. That's always been the case, man. Celebrity rules America.
Yeah, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, they'll buy every product they have, but they'll ask their friend or family that's in a certain industry to do what they do for a living for free.
Give them a discount.
Yeah.
What kind of negative, did you have any negativity from folks when you decided to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, in their defense, everybody has a podcast nowadays.
Okay.
And a lot of people have podcasts nowadays. So they would say, you know, just another person having another podcast, or what are you doing type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
I never took it to heart. I mean, I took more stuff to heart when I started putting myself on social media than I did when I did the podcast.
Like, what do you mean?
I think that the year of 2020, when I started doing the video form, something just switched in me that I just didn't care about the people fencing you in and not allowing you doing what you want to do.
And you think that happened in 2020?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. 2020, 2021.
Okay.
In there.
So we got more judgmental.
Yes.
Or was it envy?
It could be all of the above.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't post a lot about numbers.
Nobody should.
Yeah.
They should remain private.
Yeah.
In my opinion. It's just my opinion.
Yeah. And if anybody finds stuff out and stuff, they get kind of confused. They're like, how did you get there? And I'm like, well, you don't listen. So maybe you'll never understand because you have that mindset. But again, I think it's no one really is there when you're starting at zero. But they want to be there when you're.
Oh, most definitely.
I'm not at 100. I'm maybe at like 15.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I won't say that I don't care about the product or what we're doing. If it's a product, I care about making the show look great. I'm proud of the studio. I'm proud of the conversation. But it's so done for selfish reasons that by putting it out in the ether, if it's rejected or enjoyed, I'm happy when they enjoy it because they're finding value. But if they don't, that's not going to change my life any, if that makes any sense.
Exactly. I think I'm the same exact way. For the most part, I've done some in-person podcasts. I've done like 3, but for the most part, it's all Zoom. Mm-hmm. So I'm meeting people from all over the world that I would never meet. And I'm building connections where I have, friends in Australia now or London just because of this podcast.
Of course.
And connections are huge. Some people just leave their job and they're done for the day. They're not building anything,
right.
Which is fine. If you choose that, that's totally fine. But I've always wanted to build a career, and connecting has always been a goal of my networking. And if that's fulfilling that side of it in podcasting.
Certainly.
So it's, again, a hobby that it's
a great hobby. Yeah. And don't run from that word, because I think I did in the beginning, because I was trying to I didn't want to define this, but I started to have to try to figure it out because I was being always asked from people, what the hell is that? What are you doing? Are you making money at that? Is that a vocation? Is it a hobby? And, showing people there's another way to have communication between humans is a good thing.
Yeah. And if it changes someone's view, if someone like me 2 years ago listening to a podcast hears a story like me and, I'm like that exact same person, it just inspires them. If they could touch one person, I know that's cliche. I feel like everybody says that, but
so.
I think that's so awesome. And getting those messages too, like the DMs or the emails are so awesome.
Yeah, that, got a guy from London that messaged me a couple months ago, and very detailed message. Him and his wife, I think they're retired. And they go, we know we're never going to meet you, and just want to let you know we're in the London suburbs, and we think you're hysterical. We think you swear too much, kid. But I mean, it was the most sincere, well done. And he was mentioning all these different series we do within this podcast, Eric. So there was he was obviously had been watching.
Avid listener. Yeah.
In London, or a suburb of London, and him and his wife, and this is they love it. They wait for the next one. He goes, we're not interested in all topics, and we ingest or not ingest. We watch a lot of them, and it was just one of those moments where shows the power of the web and how and we are all connected.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
It's another way of media that's not, I want to knock on wood, but it's not toxic in a way that what Instagram or any of the platforms, I'm not knocking Instagram because that's where I got a lot of my viewership. But podcasting is very positive in the most part.
For sure.
And I think that's another reason why people lend toward it, because there's a lot of negativity.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a guest who tried to take you down or force you down a political road yet?
Not exactly. They kind of hinted their viewpoint on something, but I kind of had to get away from it because I don't want to talk. I'm like you. I don't want to talk politics on my podcast.
Not intentionally. I do that show with Rocco Cozza, How We See It, and invariably, him and I are bantering about just observations of society. It's not really laced in. There's no agenda. We say from the beginning, he's kind of moderate right. I guess I'm moderate. If you're going to label us, that's kind of what we are. So we put it out there from the beginning. This is kind of where we are, but there's plenty of observations to get a laugh at because we're living in a cartoon, if you haven't noticed.
Exactly.
But we don't go, I've had 4 Friends series on here where we touch on subjects, current events, which shows are so well received because it's current events. Then invariably, one person will go down, and they'll say something political, but we've never intentionally, I don't think anyone I've had on is really hasn't cared what the political leanings are of any of the 4 guests, because we're not there for that purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes any sense. So invariably in conversation, you can go anywhere.
I'm the same way. I don't want to use my platform to give an opinion on political. I have my own, but I don't need everybody to know it, and I don't need anyone to learn from my viewpoint because we all have our own viewpoints. We all grew up differently.
Of course.
Leave that to you and just go.
Yeah, and there's enough of that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Rocco Cozza and I we talked for a long time. Do we really want to do this? Can we do this from a non-political way? And we try to intentionally find good news as well too. Then we review the week, 35, 40 minutes, have fun with it. There's not a lot of great news that we're made aware of every week to find. It's out there. You just got to really look for it.
Yeah.
But I think the public, and I'm not saying it's going to happen with him and I, but I think the public is really kind of yearning for either a real news show that can figure out a way to come at things from an unbiased standpoint, or just commentary that's funny and outwardly not biased, and that's what is just not on television. That does not exist on TV. It may be funny, but it's always coming from a slant from either side.
Yeah, and it takes a special person to do that too. They need to be a trained someone that 100% could hold their tongue, not say their opinion.
Do you think that they'll eventually get labeled though, one way or the other?
Oh, 100%. They won't agree with something. They'll accidentally roll their eye on something and then they'll get labeled.
Yeah, because it's we can. It's ridiculous to think that if I'm a Democrat, that everything in the quote unquote Democratic agenda you're going to agree with. There's going to be things that you don't agree with that are going to be Republican issues that you might agree with. So whatever you decide to label yourself, you're doing that to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
But like even the people that jump down your throat for politics wouldn't jump down your throat if they don't like your favorite singer or your favorite show.
Bingo. You see, I've come
why
at
is
it from
that topic?
Great question. That's a great question. Yeah, I've come at it before like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it politics that causes the big division? When decades prior, there was, car guys, Ford, Chevy.
Oh, man.
People just laughed at Chryslers. There's Ford, Chevy, right? That was like a thing when I was growing up. I got into music and guitars. It was, a little more specialized, but it was the Gibson versus the Fender thing. Two styles of guitars, and they had their wars. You're either on one side or the other. You really weren't, but it was kind of like you felt like you had to join a team. And I'm sure in many other areas of life, there's those brand loyalty kind of stuff going on. And maybe that was the start of this whole thing. I don't know.
Maybe. I wish it would end.
Yeah. Do you think it will?
No. I think it just gets worse.
I don't know how worse it can be.
Oh, man.
I mean, I don't know. We're so caustic now that let me ask you this: do you think this medium will maybe replace traditional television? Do you think podcasting is going to merge with television?
I think television's definitely on a way out.
As what we call television.
Yeah, what we call television, like cable.
Okay.
Because there's so many streaming things now. But there's so many of these new streaming shows that are talk show based and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe podcasts will be if they were smart, they would get some of these podcasters and put them on these streaming networks, like the video formats of them. I would love that. I would watch those all the time.
Yeah. I look at what Joe Rogan did, and it's unbelievable to me. Talk about being at the right place at the right time and developing a unique skill and exploiting it. It's impressive. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a comedian. He's not a journalist. He's not a person that was been trained in oration. Is that a word? He's not an orator. I don't know. He's not someone that outside of the comedic aspect of it, he really had no background in doing what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And now he's like the number one interviewer, give or take 1, 2, or 3 on the planet.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all it takes.
I guess. It's amazing.
That's when you're naturally born to do it. He just kind of fell into it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He gave the public what they wanted. Mm-hmm. I mean,
he listened. That's something the media doesn't do. They don't usually listen.
No. So you're starting a second project too now, right?
Yes. Pro Series Off Topic.
Okay. Self-explanatory.
Yes. Because Pro Series, all about pros. So it's people that are, I wouldn't say just professional. So Pro Series is more entrepreneur. It started out as just design. And then I kind of led down a path that was entrepreneurial. And then I had mental health coaches on there.
Oh, right on.
But we're all touching the business side of it.
Yep.
So we're not attaching it to personal life or anything. It's all like mental health to your business, how to build your business, social media for your business.
So it's kind of enterprise based.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But working in the design field all day, doing a podcast, I wanted some type of that's not just me. There's so many other things and topics that I want to talk about that interest me that I am not kind of able to talk to, because I kind of built this, fence of what I could talk about in the Pro Series. And I don't want to bring in these weird off topics on there.
You want to stay in your lane.
Yeah, stay in my lane. And that's the main reason for Off Topic. I talk about cars, country music, social media. It's mostly just me talking. They're shorter episodes. Maybe I'll have some guests every once in a while, but mostly it's just me.
See, I love that because it's almost like, I'm going to guess this is what happened. You tell me if I'm full of shit. I might be. But I'm guessing is that you got into this and you realized I got a knack for it. I'm at ease with it, and I really like it.
I don't necessarily think I'm good at it yet. I'm learning.
You're just being humble. I think that that you can handle it.
Well, I will say, when I started the podcast and I was able to talk to some guy at Pod World.
Okay.
Down in Florida. And then I talked to someone at Spotify.
Right on.
And they kind of gave me a bunch of advice. And they're like, you need multiple episodes a week. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I have a full-time job. I have a couple side jobs. Like, I can't do that.
Right.
And then I realized I can't do that. And I'm like, yes, now is the time to do it.
Yeah. Volume of content.
Yeah. And that's just, every week being able to edit faster and faster and knowing what to do. Mostly it's just a template that I could just plop the video in. And I just wanted to do something extra fun. If I have 15 minutes in the day to just record myself talking about some type of topic, it's...
And I'm guessing that when you're podcasting, you're enjoying it so much that you got that feeling that, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
I do. It's something that I never, if you told me in high school, like we kind of talked off camera, that I was very introverted. And I'm very introverted still off now in social situations. But when it comes to business and these like podcasts and stuff that I'm interested in, I'm not. Like most people don't understand that I'm actually introverted outside of here.
Yeah, I have a hard time grasping that whole introverted thing. I don't see you as an introvert, but I get it. I trust you. I believe you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't come. So if I'm not seeing it, then you can feel pretty rest assured that it's probably not coming across that way to your audience, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And hopefully that's what some people would get from it. And maybe someone that is introverted and wants to be something different and wants to put themselves out there to build their way. Hopefully I could help them in that way too.
For sure.
I mean, if that's the only success from it, that's pretty awesome.
I would think so. And not having hard goals or hard expectations makes the hobby so much more beautiful.
That's the thing too. It doesn't feel like work. And that's the main thing.
Because you love it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's powerful. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a powerful. With the Pro Series on the design front, if you wanted to look 6 months out to a year, do you have any ideas as to where you want it to be? Or is it really so fluid that you're just taking it as it comes from a growth standpoint?
I would love to do more in person. Just be able to visually see stuff.
I think you would love that.
Yeah. I mean, I've done 2. One was very sit down, but the second one was a lot more hands-on.
Yep.
Which was fun.
This format's the best, dude. I mean, I understand how much ground you can cover on a Zoom call. I get it. Totally. Yeah. There's just something amazing about being in the same room.
Yeah. I would love to be able to a lot of my podcasts, I think I've had like 10 people from Pittsburgh, maybe. And everybody else is, miles and miles away or in a different country.
For sure. There's a lot of talent in this town.
There is. And that's, I've gotten a lot of backlash on that too, because I've had competition on my podcast, like other designers, but I don't think of it that way.
Yeah, good for you. I've had real estate agents on here. Yeah, I don't think of that. I never think of that.
Yeah. I didn't think
about
it.
It's the wrong way to think about it.
Yeah. I didn't think about it until someone brought it up.
Right.
Because the couple people I've had on that do design, or maybe I only had one, they specialize in something different. They do other things. Like, it doesn't affect me. Like, it doesn't matter. And I'm friends with a lot of competition. Like, competition doesn't mean much to me.
I just don't view other humans as competition. I just don't.
No, there's no way you could sell every house in Pittsburgh. And then there's no way I could design every house in Pittsburgh.
Correct.
So, like, it just doesn't...
It's not productive.
The argument doesn't make sense to me.
It's not productive. I leave the competition to like sports and things like that. Yeah. I mean,
makes more
we
sense.
were talking off camera a little bit about awards and things and best of this and best of this. And it's like, if that means something to someone and they win that or they're involved in that, God bless them, man. I want you to be happy. But I just can't share in the valuing of that. That's just a popularity gig for me. Mm-hmm. And I, in the end, just want people to be happy. And if that's what they need to be happy, then God bless them. But it's just, to me, not looking at folks that do the similar things that you do in life, looking at them hopefully as friends or at least acquaintances or counterparts is a hell of a lot better than being envious of them.
Oh, 100%. You learn so much from them too.
If you're open enough to. Yeah,
Well,
that's the
that's
value.
true.
That's the value.
You're closed
right?
off, you're not.
Of course. I mean, you can't say that there's other designers you haven't learned from, right?
Oh, no. Yeah, I've
Exactly.
learned from so many, yeah.
Exactly. And realtors that are senior to me or doing it long before I ever did taught me everything. I owe them my entire career. If Joe Rogan had not been a thing, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this.
Really?
Yeah, that's where the idea came from, for sure.
Oh, okay. I thought
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, exactly.
Like this would be look at the table, the concept of putting maybe 4 people here and you know, and just having a cool place to go, and you know, not the studio doesn't look like his, I'm sure, but it's like it's uniquely me. It's authentic, but the concept of the microphones, and being dialed in, looking at each other while we're talking, that's all important shit to me because I think magic gets created from that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but this was an original idea. There's nothing about here that's an original idea. I'm willing to say that.
Your conversations aren't, though. I mean, they're original.
Each
The way
one's
you go
unique.
about it.
Maybe. I mean, I learned from his stylings. I learned from people who, and I'm far from polished, but I'm getting better, and I've learned from those who've done it before successfully.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be doing that in life, though? I mean,
Yeah. That's a good point because I do social media consulting, so I help people with their social media branding and management. And I always say, like, go find someone that inspires you, that you want to be like. And I mean, don't copy them.
exactly.
But, you know, make them your drive.
Exactly. Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
I got lucky, Eric, in 98 when I started this guitar business. The web was so young. I had no one to model this business after. I literally didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how long the web would work. I didn't know what this eBay thing was. I didn't know a lot of stuff. So it would have been a lot easier because I was looking to find a mentor, to find someone who had already done it. But there was nothing. This was right at the beginning of the web. There wasn't a before time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hard. And I learned that the rest of my life was never going to be done that way. I was going to look for people who were successful and model them on every other thing I've done. And that's what I've done in real estate. And you just model the successful people because I know how hard it is to do it without that availability. I don't ever want to do that again.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And with the social media side of it, it's so hard to figure out original people, like making creations and, you know, getting famous off TikTok, like whoever did the first TikTok dance or whatever. Yeah, that's cool. That was off of a fluke maybe. But being able to take that and make it your own, you already know it somewhat works for someone else. Why not do it for yourself?
Bingo.
And then start doing original content as you're building.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing. Look, every song that's ever been written have elements of what came before. Mm-hmm. Nothing is purely original.
Yeah.
I mean, even like Rogan, we say, well, that's the first major podcast. I'm sure he looked at Adam Curry's podcast that had been going on long before his and probably pulled elements out of that. Or I don't know, Rogan might have looked at maybe Mike Wallace or some of those, you know, interviewers that we grew up with, people of our age, and probably you're always pulling something from somebody. He might have even looked at Stern's interviews and said, hey, this kind of works. This angle works. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a comedian. He's emulating people all the time. Nothing's purely original.
No.
I wouldn't guess.
It's like in the interior design world. Customers come with me with their Pinterest boards, and they're like, I like this, or I saw this on TV. I implement this into my house. So it's in every profession.
Pinterest is still a thing, huh?
That's another platform I have no idea how to use.
I'm surprised because isn't that big with like home decor and things?
It is, but I have one.
Yeah, I think I do too. Now that you mentioned it, maybe
I posted on it maybe once, if that's even a thing, or pinned
really?
It. Yeah, I don't know how to use the app.
Maybe I should learn how to use the app. I don't even know what the hell it is.
I don't either. I just know a lot of
maybe
customers
him and I
come
are
in.
behind. Maybe we should figure that out.
I literally know Instagram, and I barely know Instagram. Because they're changing constantly.
Oh yeah. You think TikTok's going away?
Oh man, I don't know. I love TikTok. Don't post a lot on TikTok, but just the content of it.
Oh, that's funny shit on there.
Yeah. It's what Vine was back.
Yeah.
When I grew up, Vine was awesome. But
what happened to Vine?
I think the owners didn't want something to do with sponsoring, so there was no way to make money off of the app. Something like that. They weren't able to make money to keep the app going.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't want to make money.
I don't know.
It's pretty popular.
Yeah, I mean, with what TikTok is, Vine would be huge right now.
Yeah. I'm surprised that wasn't monetized. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand why people don't want TikTok as a platform.
Yeah.
But it's no different than Instagram or Facebook.
If we're not being corrupted by something, we'll be corrupted. Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible that the Chinese government, again, this is just Joe Citizen talking. Is it possible the Chinese government has got their fingers in it? Probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and would it be best if it probably wasn't around in America? Maybe. And then, of course, all that business would have to be shuttled over to Facebook and Instagram or Twitter or whatever the other recipients of their business will be.
Yeah.
Or something else will sprout up. I don't know.
But my thing is, we all have these speakers in our home, Amazon speakers or something. There's always a way.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And they could hack into Facebook and get your information. I was hacked. My Instagram account was hacked in 2020. It was a very hard year. But yeah, I thought I lost everything. I thought I lost my whole brand.
Yeah.
But, there's going to be a hacker no matter what.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you're exactly right.
And that's what AI is just getting smarter and smarter, and it's a scary thing. It's a cool concept until it's getting to the point. Yeah, to the point where they're making these robots and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, technology is awesome if you could just pause it for,
so we can adapt and put safeguards and precautions in there as we go. Mm-hmm. But things grow exponentially. It seems like.
Yes.
Oh, that's a sour note to end on. You have a good time, brother?
I did. This was awesome.
Yeah, man. I'd love to have you back, and we'll talk about some panel shows, and as long as you're comfortable with the format. But
absolutely.
You're doing great on this. You need to do some one-on-ones.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing advice out there, but in an in-person environment.
Yeah. I'm doing one tomorrow.
Glad to hear that.
But it's more of the traveling, which I like. I like the traveling ones.
For sure.
Maybe the off-topic will be something like this one day, but...
You'll get there.
Yeah.
I have faith in you.
Yeah, one day.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you for letting me.
All right, friends. How can I reach you?
Follow me at Eric Dillman Designs, or go to Pro Series on any podcast platform.
He's everywhere. If you can't find him on Instagram, you're not looking, or Google him. You'll find him.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, friends. We're out.